In the pre-AI world, most high-stakes meetings started cold. Not because the sales teams were lazy, but because they're busy. We try to solve meeting prep with discipline, telling people to check the CRM or scan LinkedIn. However, the reality is that discipline doesn't scale, AI systems do. At True Horizon, we look at pre-meeting prep as an operational intelligence problem. When your execution is time-bound, meaning you have a call starting in 60 minutes, the intelligence has to be delivered, not discovered. You shouldn't have to go looking for context. In this video, we're going to show you how we architected a pre-meeting intelligence layer. It automatically detects upcoming calls, matches attendees to your CRM memory, enriches new contacts, and delivers a structured brief right to your inbox before the call starts. I'm going to hand it over to Zane, our senior AI engineer, to break down the actual architecture. Zane, take it away.
Hey, Zane from True Horizon here. Before we get into the very fun building, and it is very cool, let's first take a look at our output, this pre-meeting intelligence brief, which popped into my email inbox an hour before an important client call. And what I love about this is I didn't have to do any manual searches in a CRM or surf the web or anxiously drink 3 cups of coffee as I'm trying to figure out what it is they posted on LinkedIn. That's all right here. So you'll see at the top a link to the meeting, a link to their LinkedIn, which is live and clickable. We'll get to that, as well as all the notes pulled from my CRM. This was an existing client. You can see last touch point, deal status, next step discussion, as well as top 3 priorities for this meeting. And what's really cool is you are starting this meeting, this conversation, with a strong foot forward. So you understand how to frame areas of agreement, disagreement, friction, as well as building towards those next steps. I especially like this last touch point section because it gives qualitative and quantitative information based off of information gathered from sales chats. You'll see here that if I click this link, it actually goes to a live LinkedIn link. Now, let me show you how this works. You'll see here we have a nice little diagram of our 3 systems being used as part of this pre-meeting intelligence flow. This automation connects these 3 systems. Your calendar that knows who you're meeting with and when. HubSpot, which has all the information you could imagine for your deal pipeline or meeting schedule, or I should say team schedules, as well as Apollo, which enriches your contacts with net new information, say LinkedIn or web search results. But nothing connects these 3 systems while you're on the call or beforehand. So imagine that, the call's starting and you're still digging through tabs trying to figure out whether they're VP or director, right? This helps solve that with pre-meeting intelligence. And you'll see this flow has 2 paths. It pulls from your calendar to see when your next meeting is, looks them up in the CRM if they're a known contact, and if not, understands that it will have to conduct research for a new contact, normalize that data so you're getting the same information every time. I'll call out that template you just viewed previously. That is where we're normalizing this data. So we always know what our next steps are, what potential pain points might be, etc. And then that AI brief is sent to us via Gmail, as well as a log, a shared history of all the past interactions in a database that will be used for future meetings and intelligence. And just as important are the logs, because if there's an error or retries, it's of the utmost importance to know if this meeting brief makes it to you in time. And if not, having the proper guardrails in place to get that to you so you're not surprised and caught off balance. Anyways, I digress. Here is our workflow. And you can see we have a trigger layer, signal processing, and all these important sections that do what I just showed in our diagram. I wanted to show you our client stack first so you can understand what tech stack they were using, and then we're going to go through a few live executions showing both cases, a net new contact as well as a contact that exists in our. You'll see here that there are native nodes for HubSpot and then an API call for Apollo, which is a little bit more complicated, but not too much. Okay, jumping to our trigger layer, you'll see that it is scheduled to run every 5 minutes and returns events on our calendar. And we can filter not only for external meetings, but meetings within a custom time frame. In this case, 60 minutes. You get that calendar event. So for example, I'll have a meeting in the next hour, and we'll see that it's titled Sales Call with Senior Director of Growth at Launchpad, as well as has creator, organizer, and then a dummy email. I've now been promoted to a senior executive at Launchpad. The next step is extracting our attendees. So we get rid of any bot emails, extra CCs, and your own email, and provide the information that's needed to pass forward a CRM lookup request. So you'll see here, I got a status, the email of my contact, as well as meeting details, which is great. So now that that's cleaned up, we're going to do a CRM lookup. Again, I'm using Google Sheets as a stand-in for the client tech stack. In this case, it was Salesforce. So we're just ensuring that we have clean data to hit our database request. We're going to hit the database request here. This is a very simplified version of what many of your CRMs likely look like. You have the first name, last name, title, company, phone, as well as that LinkedIn link, which we saw earlier in the email, as well as the lifecycle stage, and the list goes on and on. And what's great is it pools this information in whether or not our contact is the CRM. In this case, this person is actually not in our CRM. So what would happen next is an API call to a third-party service that was able to enrich their contact information, do a web search, and pool all this key information for us to reference. Again, there is no CRM to pull from, but rather we have clean data from that email as well as first and last name to conduct a search. Now for our existing client case, this would often be a 1-minute execution in the background that ultimately pulls all this information and then populates it in our downstream nodes. So what's really cool is you'll see that we are normalizing this data from our API call, and you can see here it communicates all this information. Again, this is a net new. This will be a part of our email template that is now going to be generated by our AI agent. So you'll see here we've received that email, which is a slightly different template because that was a net new contact. So we have research pulled from our web search API, as well as suggested talking points. So discuss Launchpad's recent European expansion and its impact on growth strategy. What strategies did you find most effective in your previous role at Stripe and HubSpot? So you can see that not only is it business relevant, but also more professional oriented. And then finally, top 3 priorities for this meeting. Establish a relationship and understand their growth challenges, as well as gather insights for market positioning and future expansion plans. We have 2 templates for the bot to refer to. That is part of its system instructions. And importantly, all it is made to do after being provided key information from our database pool or our enrichment and web search calls is exactly that. As I previously said, we normalize that contact data so the AI receives consistent information every time to generate its template output. It doesn't think or guess. It just formats the prompt to strict and exact sections. So you'll see here in our system prompt that we have provided a version. And that really comes down to 2 things. The system prompt that allows these templated outputs, as well as the information going in. So we already know when we pull information either from our existing CRM or a web search that we're always going to have this information input for consumption by the AI to create our template. So you'll see here that we have a instruction, generate pre-meeting intelligence brief for the following meeting. It has all the details regarding our meeting pooled, and then you can see further down in our system prompt that we have very explicit instructions. You are a pre-meeting intelligence analyst. Generate a concise, actionable meeting brief. And you'll see there's grammar and formatting instructions, as well as everything you saw in our emails. A template for existing contacts, as well as a template for those contacts who are new. What's cool is this execution probably takes 30 seconds and saves you minutes, even hours of research and head scratching. And the most exciting part is not only the speed, but error logging in case there's incomplete information. So what if there's no attendee email attached, or your web search results error out? What's great is we have safeguards in place. Say something like an email is incorrect and errors out. You'll see it goes to the error path and then would be logged by an error handling workflow, as well as send a notification stating that a brief failed. From a design perspective, these are my main takeaways. 1, identity matching is the real bottleneck. Email to CRM record, get that right first. 2nd, normalize your data before it hits AI. Consistent input creates consistent output every time. 3, net new contacts aren't empty. They're an enrichment opportunity. So if it's a custom API service or an HTTPS scrape, there are many options to get that information. 4, reliability over cleverness. Doesn't matter how smart the system is if the brief shows up after the meeting. So handling those errors, getting notifications when things do go wrong, and ultimately logging all conversation history for even greater and richer intelligence later. If you want this for your team, where every external call starts with a structured brief automatically, that's what we build at True Horizon. And this is maybe 1% of what we architect for companies. Different stacks, different systems, same principle. Make the work happen before anyone else has to think about it. Links in the description if you want a free consultation. Thanks for watching.